The alien warship was vast and cold, its walls made of black metal that hummed with hidden power. Deep inside its prison deck, behind layers of shields and steel doors, sat a single human. Chains wrapped around his wrists and ankles, glowing faintly with energy. His clothes were torn, his face bruised, yet his eyes were calm. The guards stood outside his cell. Tall reptilian soldiers, their scales shining under the lights, stared at him with narrowed eyes. "This is the last of them," one hissed. "The last human alive." The others laughed, their sharp teeth glinting. "Not alive for long. The council will put him on display, then finish the extinction. Humanity is over." They expected fear. They expected pleading. But instead, the human did something none of them understood. He smiled. The alien guards froze. The smile was not desperate, not weak. It was calm, steady, almost mocking. For a moment, the guards felt something strange, something they had never felt before. Unease. One soldier shook his head and growled. "Why does he smile? Does he not understand he is finished?" Another spat on the floor. Humans were always strange. They fought even when defeat was certain. They laughed when they should have cried. They died standing instead of kneeling. The human said nothing. He only leaned back against the wall, chains rattling softly, his smile never fading. The guards grew restless. They whispered among themselves, trying to explain it. Perhaps he has gone mad. Perhaps he welcomes death. Perhaps he hides something. The more they spoke, the more unsettled they became. Hours passed. The alien commander of the prison deck arrived. He was taller than the guards, his armor polished and his voice sharp. He looked at the human with cold eyes. "So this is the last one," the commander said. "The final animal from the death world." The guards laughed again, eager to show loyalty. But when the commander looked closer, his face hardened. "Why does he smile?" The question cut the air. None of the guards answered. The commander stepped closer to the bars. "Human," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "Your species is gone. Your world is ash. Your fleets are dust. And yet you smile? Do you think you frighten us?" The human finally spoke. His voice was low, steady. "Not yet." The commander stiffened. The words were simple, but they carried weight. He turned sharply and left, pretending not to care. Yet his steps were too quick, his tail lashing behind him. The guards avoided looking at one another. The human leaned his head back against the wall and closed his eyes, the same quiet smile still on his face. Whispers spread through the ship. Crew members who had never seen a human came to look at him. Some laughed at the small figure in chains. Others stared longer than they meant to, disturbed by the calmness in his eyes. One engineer swore she heard him humming softly in the dark, a tune with no fear in it. By the end of the day, every corner of the ship was buzzing. The human smiles. The prisoner smiles. Why does he smile? Old soldiers spoke in hushed tones. They remembered battles long ago, when human soldiers stood bleeding and broken, yet still smiled as they charged forward. They remembered stories of humans who looked death in the eyes and grinned as if they had already won. Fear began to grow. Not loud fear, but quiet, gnawing fear that sank into the bones. The alien commander tried to crush it. "He is only one man," he shouted in the mess hall. "One broken animal in chains. He cannot hurt us." But his words did not erase the memory of the smile. Late that night, when most of the crew slept, 2 guards walked past the human cell. They tried not to look, but curiosity pulled their eyes toward him. He was awake, sitting in the shadows. His chains glowed faintly, but his posture was relaxed, almost comfortable. And he was still smiling. The younger guard stopped walking. His claws twitched nervously. "Why does he smile?" he whispered to his partner. The older guard shook his head, his voice tight. "Because he knows something we don't." They walked away quickly, refusing to look back. Inside the cell, the human closed his eyes again. The corners of his mouth curled upward. His smile was not for the guards. Not for the commander. Not even for himself. It was for what was coming. And somewhere deep in the void, far beyond the alien warship, something stirred. The alien warship moved silently through the stars. Its halls were wide and bright, filled with soldiers and officers who thought themselves unshakable. But since the human had been locked in the prison deck, the ship no longer felt the same. The smile haunted them. Every guard who passed his cell saw it, calm, steady, unbroken. A smile where there should have been fear. A smile where there should have been despair. At first, they laughed at it. "He is mad," one soldier said. "The last of his kind, broken in the head." But laughter faded quickly. The smile did not. The human sat for hours, sometimes with his eyes closed, sometimes staring at the wall, sometimes watching the guards as if measuring their every move. And always, his mouth curved upward, that strange human expression of calm confidence. Soon, whispers spread through the ship. One engineer swore she heard the human humming in the night, a low sound that echoed through the prison deck. The tune was simple, but it carried weight, like the rhythm of marching feet. Another guard claimed the human spoke in his sleep, whispering words in a language the translator could not catch. Words that sounded less like dreams and more like warnings. The crew began to avoid the prison deck. They traded shifts, argued over assignments, even lied about injuries just to stay away from the smiling prisoner. The commander grew angry. He summoned his soldiers in the mess hall. His voice thundered over their unease. "Enough of this foolishness. It is a face, nothing more. A smile is no weapon. A chained man is no threat. You shame yourselves by fearing shadows." The soldiers tried to believe him. But even as he spoke, none of them dared meet his eyes. Later that night, 2 guards returned to the prison deck. The younger one kept glancing nervously at the cell. "Why does he smile?" he whispered. The older guard growled. "Because he is insane. That is all. Stop thinking about it." But the younger one shook his head. "No. I don't think it's madness. I think he knows something. Look at his eyes. That is not the look of a broken man." The human, sitting in the shadows, heard them. He did not speak. He only smiled wider. The guards hurried away, their steps quick, their hearts pounding. By the next day, the whispers had turned into stories. Soldiers told each other old legends about humans, how they once fought like demons on the battlefield, how they laughed in the face of death, how they kept fighting long after they should have fallen. One veteran spoke quietly at his table. "I was young when I first saw them in battle. Their ships burned. Their weapons failed. But they still came forward. One smiled at me even as he bled out. That smile. I never forgot it." The younger soldiers listened, their faces pale. The commander grew furious at the spreading fear. He stormed down to the prison deck himself, determined to crush the human's spirit before it infected the entire crew. He stood outside the cell and roared. "Human! Look at me! Do you know where you are? Do you know what we have done to your kind? Your species is dead. Your world is ash. You are nothing but a relic waiting to vanish." The human lifted his head slowly. His eyes met the commander's. His smile never faded. And then he spoke. His voice was low, calm, unshaken. "Not dead. Not gone. Waiting." The commander froze. The chains rattled as the human shifted slightly, leaning forward in the shadows. "Do you fear me?" the human asked softly. The commander hissed, baring his teeth. "I fear nothing." The human's smile widened just a little more. "Then why do you shake?" The commander's claws trembled against the bars before he quickly turned and stormed out, his soldiers following in silence. When the doors closed, the guards whispered among themselves. They had seen it, the commander's tail lashing, his voice cracking, his hands unsteady. For the first time, their leader had shown fear. And all it took was a human smile. That night, the ship's corridors buzzed with nervous talk. Some said the prisoner was cursed. Others said he was sending signals to something hidden in the dark. A few whispered the most dangerous thought of all. What if he is not the last? In his cell, the human closed his eyes again, his chains glowing faintly in the dark. The smile remained, calm and steady. He did not need to fight. He did not need to run. Fear was already spreading for him. And somewhere far away, beyond the reach of the alien ship's sensors, something stirred in the void. The alien warship moved through the void, but inside, silence spread like a sickness. No laughter, no singing in the mess hall, no boasts of victories. Instead, whispers traveled from corridor to corridor, and every whisper circled back to the same thing. The human prisoner. The smile. Guards walked their shifts nervously, always keeping their eyes down when they passed the glowing cell. Engineers avoided the lower decks. Even officers found excuses to stay away. It was as if the presence of one man in chains weighed heavier than the entire ship. In the mess hall, soldiers sat with hushed voices. Their meals went untouched. Finally, one of the oldest among them, a veteran with scars across his chest, spoke. His voice was low, almost a growl. You fear the smile because you don't know what it means. But I know. I've seen it before. The younger soldiers leaned in. The room grew quiet. The veteran's eyes narrowed, as if he was looking far back into memory. I fought against humans once. I was there when they stood against 3 fleets. We thought it would be easy. They had nothing left. Their ships were fire and scrap. Their soldiers were starving. Yet when we charged, they smiled. The younger ones shivered. One whispered. Why? Why smile at certain death? The veteran's jaw tightened. Because they knew something we did not. That a human smile is not joy. It is defiance. It means they have already accepted death, and if they have accepted death, you cannot break them. Silence filled the hall. Another soldier tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. Old stories. Legends. Humans are gone. This one is only a prisoner. He has nothing. The veteran slammed his fist on the table. You fools. That is the danger. A human who has nothing left is the most dangerous of all. Because he has nothing to lose. The younger soldiers sat pale and quiet. Meanwhile, on the command deck, the alien commander stood stiff, staring at reports. His claws dug into the console. He would never admit it, but the human's words haunted him. Not dead. Not gone. Waiting. The commander shook his head angrily. He told himself it was only mind tricks. Yet when he closed his eyes, he saw the human's calm face, the steady smile. That night, whispers grew into stories. Crew members told one another tales of past wars. Some were true, some exaggerated, but all carried the same theme: humans who fought when they should have fallen, humans who smiled when surrounded, humans who died with laughter in their throats. They called them Deathworlders, one alien muttered. Born on a world of storms and beasts. They survived everything. Even the galaxy feared them. Another nodded slowly. I heard humans never surrendered. Not once. Better to burn than to kneel. And then came the most dangerous whisper of all. What if this one is not alone? What if his smile means they are coming? The words spread faster than fire. On the prison deck, the guards were restless. The younger one stared at the human through the energy bars. The man sat calmly, chains glowing faintly. His eyes were sharp, his smile unchanged. The guard swallowed hard. Why do you smile? He whispered. The human opened his eyes. His voice was soft, but every word struck deep. Because fear is already here. And fear always comes before the end. The younger guard staggered back, his scales paling. His partner grabbed his arm and pulled him away. Neither returned that night. Later, the veteran himself came to the cell. He stood in silence for a long time, staring at the man inside. The human looked back, eyes steady, smile unchanged. Finally, the veteran spoke. "I know what you are. I know why you smile. I saw it once before, on the battlefield. We thought you broken. But you smiled, and we were the ones who broke." The human tilted his head slightly. "And yet, you survived." The veteran's throat tightened. His voice shook. "Perhaps only because you let us." The human leaned forward, the chains rattling softly. His smile widened just a little. "Perhaps." The veteran turned and left quickly, his steps unsteady. By morning, the whole ship knew the story. The guards avoided the cell completely. The officers barked orders louder, but their voices trembled. Even the commander's anger could not crush the growing dread. The human never moved much. He never shouted, never fought against his chains. He only smiled. And the more he smiled, the more the aliens remembered the old stories. Stories of defiance. Stories of fire. Stories of humans who laughed at the edge of death. The alien warship was vast, armed with weapons to destroy fleets. But in its deepest chamber, behind steel and shields, sat a single prisoner who needed no weapons at all. His smile was enough. The alien warship was restless. Whispers had spread through every deck, through every corridor. Soldiers avoided the prison level, engineers worked nervously, and even officers spoke in hushed tones. The human smile had broken the calm of the ship. The commander could stand it no longer. He needed to crush the fear before it consumed his crew. "Bring the prisoner," he ordered. The guards obeyed, though their claws trembled as they unlocked the energy doors. The human rose slowly, chains rattling against his wrists and ankles. He did not resist as they pulled him out. He did not beg. He only looked at them with calm eyes, and smiled. The guards shivered. One nearly dropped his weapon. They dragged him through the halls, past crew members who stopped to stare. Some whispered to each other. Some backed away in silence. The human walked steadily, his chains heavy, but his posture straight. He looked less like a prisoner and more like a man taking a slow, deliberate walk toward destiny. At last, they reached the central chamber of the ship. It was vast, lined with banners and glowing pillars. At its center sat the alien counselors, elders of the species who ruled this fleet. Their bodies were covered in jeweled armor, their eyes sharp and cold. The human was forced to his knees before them. One of the counselors leaned forward, his voice filled with contempt. "You are the last of your kind. Do you know this? Humanity is gone. Extinct. Your world is dust. Your people are nothing." The guards waited for the prisoner to cry out, to scream, to beg. But the human only smiled. Another counselor hissed in annoyance. "He mocks us even in chains. Speak, human. Why do you smile when your end is certain?" For a long moment, the prisoner said nothing. The silence grew heavy, pressing down on everyone in the chamber. Then his voice came, calm, low, steady. "You are already too late." The words echoed like a thunderclap. The counselors stiffened. The guards exchanged frightened looks. The commander's claws dug into the floor. "Too late," one counselor demanded. "Too late for what? Speak." The human only tilted his head slightly. His smile deepened. "You will find out." The chamber erupted. Some shouted for his execution. Others demanded answers. The commander roared for silence. His tail lashed in fury. "Human! You will tell us what you mean. Do not play your death games here." But the man remained calm, his voice like ice. "You think I am alone. You think chains end me. But humanity has never been alone. Even when you thought us gone, we endured. And when the moment comes, you will know fear as we once did. That is why you are already too late." The words froze the room. One counselor slammed his staff on the floor. "Lies. Empty threats. Humanity is finished." But his voice shook, and even he could not hide his unease. The guards tried to pull the human back to his feet, but their hands trembled. His smile burned into their minds. One guard whispered to another as they dragged him away. "What if he is telling the truth? What if we are too late?" The human heard them. His smile widened. As he was taken back through the halls, the whispers grew louder. Crew members watched him pass, their eyes wide. "What did he say?" they asked. "He said we are too late." Too late for what? No one had an answer. And that made the fear worse. Back in his cell, the human sat calmly against the wall once more. The chains rattled softly as he leaned back, his eyes half closed. The guards slammed the energy doors shut and hurried away, but the prisoner's words followed them like shadows. "You are already too late." That night, the ship felt different. The air was heavier, the halls quieter. Officers barked orders more sharply, but their voices shook. The commander stalked through the decks, roaring about discipline, but even he could not silence the whispers. In the mess hall, soldiers sat pale and silent. Some remembered the old stories of humans who smiled before impossible battles. Others remembered warnings from their elders: if a human smiles, something worse is coming. For the first time in their lives, the soldiers of the great alien fleet realized what they were feeling. It was fear. Not fear of weapons. Not fear of chains. Fear of a single man, bound in irons, smiling in silence. And far beyond the warship, in the cold dark of space, a faint signal stirred. A signal the ship's sensors could not yet read. A signal older than their empire, carrying codes long thought dead. The human prisoner closed his eyes. His smile remained. He knew. The fear had only begun. The alien warship drifted through the stars, silent from the outside but restless within. Since the interrogation, the prisoner's words echoed through every corridor. "You are already too late." The phrase spread faster than fire. Guards whispered it to each other. Officers barked orders louder than usual, as if their voices could cover the fear. The commander stalked the decks, his claws striking sparks on the floor, but even he could not erase the weight of those words. Then the disturbances began. It started small, strange flickers in the ship's systems. Lights dimmed for a moment, then returned. Monitors froze, then blinked back to life. Engines throbbed unevenly before stabilizing again. At first, the technicians dismissed it as malfunctions. But the timing was wrong. Every disturbance happened when the prisoner smiled. On the prison deck, guards watched him closely. He sat against the wall, chains glowing faintly. His eyes were calm, his lips curved in that same steady smile. When the lights flickered, his smile widened just slightly. One guard whispered, "He is doing this." His partner shook his head quickly. "Impossible. He has no access. He is chained." But deep inside, even he did not believe his own words. Soon, the disturbances grew stronger. Strange signals appeared in the ship's systems, pulses of sound and light that no one could trace. They were not random. They carried rhythm. They carried pattern. One technician froze as he studied the data. His voice cracked when he whispered, "These are codes. Military codes. Old, human codes." The commander roared in fury. "Erase them. Shut them down." But no matter how many times the technicians cut the signals, they returned. Always repeating. Always in rhythm. The guards swore the prisoner was humming softly in his cell. The sound was low, steady, almost like a song. And every time he hummed, the signals pulsed in perfect time with the tune. The younger guard clutched his weapon tightly. It's not just him. Something else is out there, answering him. The older guard's scales paled. He whispered back, "Then we are not alone." News spread quickly. The crew grew restless. Soldiers began to avoid the lower decks completely. Engineers worked in silence, their eyes darting nervously. Fear was no longer quiet, it was everywhere. In the mess hall, voices rose. He is calling something. He cannot. He has no device. Then why do the systems respond? The veteran who once spoke of human battles leaned forward. His scarred face was pale. I told you before. A human smile is never empty. It is warning. And if these signals are human. He did not finish. He did not need to. The younger soldiers sat wide-eyed, their claws trembling. The commander gathered his officers in the strategy chamber. His voice thundered with rage. This is sabotage. Tricks. There are no humans left. There cannot be. But even as he spoke, the lights flickered again. The main display blinked and filled with lines of unknown code. The officers froze. The code repeated a simple phrase. We endure. The commander roared, slamming his fist against the console. Shut it off. Now. Technicians worked desperately, but the words returned again and again, glowing on every screen. We endure. We endure. We endure. The counselors aboard the flagship were summoned. Their jeweled armor glittered under the emergency lights as they hissed in fear. This is impossible. The humans are gone. This must be some other power pretending to be them. But their voices trembled. They did not believe their own words. On the prison deck, the guards stood frozen outside the human cell. He sat calmly in the shadows, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. His chains rattled softly as he leaned forward. He spoke only 2 words. Too late. The lights flickered violently. Alarms screamed across the ship. The engines groaned as if something massive pressed against them. The commander stormed into the prison deck, fury burning in his eyes. What have you done? Tell me now. The human looked up at him. His smile was calm, unbroken. I told you already. I am not alone. The commander's tail lashed furiously, but his claws trembled. Behind him, the guards took a step back. They did not want to be near the cell. They did not want to be near the smile. That night, no one slept. The lights flickered in the halls. Systems groaned under invisible pressure. And through it all, the human hummed his tune in the dark, each note echoing in rhythm with the signals flooding their systems. The warship was armed with weapons strong enough to destroy worlds. But none of it mattered. Because for the first time, the crew realized something terrifying. They were the ones trapped. Not the human. The alien flagship shook with fear, though not a single shot had been fired. Outside, the human fleet circled in perfect silence, their weapons glowing faintly, their formation unbroken. Inside, the crew was crumbling. Whispers filled every deck. Soldiers argued in corners. Officers snapped at each other. No one could rest. No one could escape the same thought repeating in their minds. Humanity endures. On the prison deck, the guards stood stiff outside the human cell. Their claws twitched on their weapons, but their eyes kept darting toward the man in chains. He sat quietly against the wall, humming that same steady tune. His smile had not left his face. The younger guard's voice cracked. I cannot stay here. His eyes, they see more than we do. His smile, it is not weakness. It is victory. The older guard's tail lashed nervously. Silence. Do not speak such things. He is only a prisoner. But his own voice shook. The human opened his eyes slowly. His smile deepened as he whispered. Too late. The guards flinched. The younger one dropped his weapon. The older guard grabbed it, but his hands trembled so badly that he nearly dropped it too. The alarms screamed suddenly, echoing through the ship. Red lights flashed across the corridors. The commander's furious voice filled the intercom. Unknown energy surge detected. All stations prepare for combat. On the bridge, the technicians scrambled. Their voices cracked as they shouted updates. The fleet outside, still silent, but energy levels climbing. Weapons charging, still not firing. They are waiting. The counselors shouted in panic. Some demanded immediate retreat. Others demanded surrender. The commander roared for silence, but his voice no longer carried strength. Back on the prison deck, the younger guard clutched his head. They will kill us. They will burn the ship. And he knows it. Look at him, he knows. The older guard looked into the cell. The human sat calmly, chains rattling softly as he leaned forward. His smile was steady, his eyes sharp. And for the first time, the older guard felt it fully, not just fear, but despair. He is not the prisoner, the guard whispered. We are. The human tilted his head slightly, as though agreeing. Then the ship shook. Not from weapons fire, but from something deeper. The lights flickered violently, screens across the ship flashing the same phrase again and again. We endure. We endure. We endure. Crew members collapsed to their knees. Some tore at their armor. Others screamed. The ship itself seemed to chant the words, as though it now belonged to the humans. The younger guard dropped to the floor. His voice was desperate. I cannot stay here. We cannot face this. He is not alone, we all know it. He scrambled to his feet, his claws shaking as he pressed the panel. The energy doors of the cell hissed and flickered. The older guard shouted. What are you doing? The younger one's eyes were wide, wild. If we keep him chained, we die. If we let him free, maybe he spares us. The energy field dropped. The chains loosened. The human rose slowly. His movements were calm, deliberate, terrifying. He stepped out of the cell, stretching his arms as the broken chains clattered to the floor. The guards stepped back. Neither raised their weapons. Neither could. The human looked at them. His smile widened just slightly. You finally understand. The younger guard fell to his knees. The older one turned his eyes away, ashamed, afraid. The human walked down the corridor, unhurried. Every step echoed loudly. Soldiers who saw him froze. Some dropped their weapons. Others pressed against the walls to let him pass. The commander heard the reports and roared in fury. Who released him? Stop him! Now! But no one moved. On the bridge, the counselors stared at the screen. The human fleet above the planet shifted again, their weapons glowing brighter, their silence unbroken. This is the end, one whispered. No, said another, trembling. This is the beginning. The commander slammed his claws on the console. His voice cracked as he shouted. He is only one man. One human. He cannot. But even as he said it, deep inside, he knew it was not true. On the prison deck, the human reached the lift. The doors opened automatically, as though the ship itself had chosen to obey him. He stepped inside calmly, his smile steady. The guards whispered after him, their voices broken. He is not the prisoner anymore. We are. The lift closed. The human rose toward the command deck, each floor trembling as he passed. The crew whispered his approach. Soldiers dropped their weapons rather than face him. Officers fled their posts. The ship that once conquered worlds now bent before the calm smile of one man. And above, the human fleet tightened formation. The breaking point had come. The alien flagship was silent except for the alarms. Crew members scattered through the halls, but none dared move against the man walking calmly through their ship. The human prisoner, once bound in chains, was free. He moved without hurry, without fear. Every step echoed against the steel floors, and the sound chilled the crew more than weapons ever could. On the bridge, the commander paced furiously. His claws tore grooves into the floor as reports came in. He is moving toward the command deck. No one will stop him. Guards, drop their weapons. The commander roared in fury. Cowards. He is one man. One. Stop him before he reaches us. But no one answered. Even the strongest soldiers refused. None wished to face the smile. The lift doors opened. The human stepped onto the bridge. His clothes were torn, his body bruised, but his eyes burned with calm fire. His lips curved upward in that same steady smile. The counselors recoiled in their seats. Some hissed, others trembled. The commander bared his teeth, trying to hide his fear. "You dare step here, chained animal? You think a smile can defeat us?" The human looked at him for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice low but carrying through every corner of the bridge. "You already defeated yourselves. Fear did the work for me." The commander's tail lashed violently. His claws shook against the console. "Silence. You are nothing. Your kind is nothing." The human tilted his head slightly, his smile deepening. "Then why do you tremble?" The commander froze. His words stuck in his throat. Around him, the counselors shifted uneasily. None dared look the human in the eyes. Outside, the human fleet tightened its orbit around the planet. Hundreds of warships hovered in perfect silence. Their weapons glowed brighter, like stars awakening for judgment. The counselors gasped as the screens lit up. The human fleet's signal spread across every channel. The voice of the envoy filled the air, steady and calm. "Council of the Galaxy. You thought humanity gone. You thought fire and betrayal erased us. But humanity does not vanish. Humanity endures." The words echoed across the bridge, across the warship, across every channel in the system. Soldiers and civilians alike heard them. Whole worlds would hear them. The envoy continued. "You fear us for our strength. But strength was never our greatest weapon. Our greatest weapon was will. You cannot chain it. You cannot burn it. And now, you cannot escape it." The human prisoner stood in silence, his smile unchanged. He did not need to speak, the fleet spoke for him. One counselor collapsed into his seat, his jeweled armor rattling. "If this spreads, our people will rise against us. Our rule will shatter." The commander snarled, desperate. "This is lies. Trickery. They are only shadows of the past." But his voice broke as the human fleet fired, not at them, not at the planet, but into the empty void. Beams of light tore across space, powerful enough to split moons, yet aimed harmlessly away. It was not an attack. It was a demonstration. The counselors stared in horror. Their fleets could not match such power. Their worlds could not resist such will. The human envoy's voice spoke again, softer now, but sharper than any blade. "You declare us extinct. And yet, here we stand. Humanity speaks again. And when humanity speaks, the galaxy listens." The human prisoner stepped closer to the commander. His eyes locked on the trembling alien. "We were never gone," he said softly. "We were only waiting for you to look away." The commander stumbled back, his claws scraping the floor. He could not bring himself to fight. The human's smile widened just slightly. Not of joy. Not of mercy. But of certainty. Behind him, the screens glowed brighter. Across the galaxy, the message spread, through hidden channels, through broken relays, through every corner of space. Whole civilizations heard the truth. Humanity had endured. Humanity had returned. The counselors lowered their heads in shame and terror. Some whispered prayers. Others sat frozen, broken. The commander finally collapsed to his knees, his strength gone. The human turned, his smile still calm, still steady. He looked at the screens, at the fleet that filled the stars. Then he spoke his final words, not to the commander, not to the counselors, but to the galaxy itself. "We are human. We endure. And we are not afraid." The words shook the chamber like thunder. Outside, the human fleet shifted one last time, blotting out the stars. Their silence was heavier than war, their presence more powerful than fire. The galaxy trembled. Not because of weapons. Not because of destruction. But because of a smile. a smile that meant the humans had returned. And nothing would ever be the same again.